October is a great time of the year to see a very special animal, hognose snakes. These lovable little snakes are a favorite on the internet for their ability to hood up like a cobra as well as play dead. This time of year, these snakes are out in full force. Unfortunately, I have never actually seen a live one in my home state of Louisiana, and I rarely see them in Mississippi. So I packed my bags, prayed that my check engine light wasn't anything too serious as I headed straight for Florida. The Sandhills of North Florida are home to some incredible species. A local favorite of mine being gopher tortoises, who are very important to the environment and the other species living in these areas.
Hey yo, look at this little dude. This is it. This is Florida, guys. I love it. These are like my favorite things to just kind of see wandering around, is gopher tortoises. And look, he does not care that we're here. He probably sees people every single day out here. He don't care that I'm talking about him. He don't care that I'm a few feet away from him. I mean, if I pet him, he'd probably like curl up and then go back to eating or something like that, but we're not gonna mess with him. He's just chilling.
I always love seeing these guys, but I am in Florida for one reason and one reason only: the southern hognose snake, a vulnerable species of hognose snake known for their limited range and small populations. Morning time and weather like this time of year is a great time to see these snakes on the move, so I started getting on the move myself.
Now, all this habitat is really nice for a lot of different things. Obviously, the goal is hognose snakes. This area does get easterns and southern hognoses, southern being the true goal. And their populations are not supposed to exceed into the thousands consistently. There are probably a couple of populations that do, this potentially being one of them, but very tiny populations compared to things like the eastern hognose and other similar species. Now, obviously, they're going to be in these, sandhill biomes, very sandy environments for them to lay their eggs, catch toads, and all kinds of stuff like that. But I'm also thinking searching around these oak trees, these larger oak trees, going through the leaves for them. They will kind of live in leaf litter as a baby, so I'll probably try that a little bit. But they are not an easy snake to find for, that is for certain. I drove all the way from Louisiana. I will take what I can get.
Garter. That's my first Florida garter.
Yoink. Got him.
Hey, bud. Ooh, don't bite me. I don't like getting bit by garters. Oop, no bite. Woohoo!
Have a look at this. That's a Florida garter, and you can see here, he shredded me. Ow! Yeah, see, typically I don't care about getting bit by garters, but something weird's happening here. My wrist does not feel right now. Yeah, not only is this a really cool looking garter, in fact, this is my first ever Florida garter. That bite right there, and the one on my middle finger, stop! This is the craziest garter snake I've ever seen. And I don't want to keep getting bit. My hand feels weird. I guess I should handle him like a venom. All right, crikey, we're gonna handle you like a venom now. Cause I don't like getting bit by you. Really cool coloration. Oftentimes these are referred to as Florida blue garter snakes, and you can see why. He's kind of got that bluish tinge to him. These little snakes have a very short and stocky build. They're oftentimes very fat, very similar to the actual snake that we're looking for out here. We're gonna go ahead and let this little guy back and keep looking for more.
See, little guy?
Okay, well, I'm kind of hearing some ruckus from over this way. What did they find? Ah, cheeky hecks. They found something. You could see it. I can see it on the grouping. People group around something. Look at him. Check this little guy out. That is a southern hognose snake. Hey, little guy. Oh my goodness! Hognose snakes are my absolute favorite snakes, honestly. Eastern hognoses and southerns are both very cool, but the southerns have a little bit more of a limited range. And Florida is one of the most common places that they are actually found, but they also get into Georgia a little bit, and they used to go all the way to Mississippi. Now, it's been a while since one has been found there, but they are a very special and very peculiar snake. They like very specific habitats, and their populations are kind of spotty even throughout their range. But once you get into some areas with them, they can be pretty findable. Now, this time of year is probably one of the best times to see these snakes out and about, kind of cruising around these little sandhill biomes. Any area that's super sandy, got oak trees and pine, and specifically toads. I did see an oak toad earlier, and that is something that these snakes absolutely love to eat. Look at that little snake. Now, this is a small one. They do get quite a bit bigger than this. And look at how he balls up. Look, he's so chill. Now, if you do live in the places where southern hognoses and eastern hognoses live in the same area, it can be a little bit difficult for some people to tell the difference. Southern hognoses are typically, for the most part, gonna look the same. This is a pretty standard look for a southern hognose, whereas eastern hognoses are incredibly variable. Got a little bit of an orangish color across the top, and this species looks a lot like a pygmy rattlesnake. This is something that people would confuse for a pygmy, and you can kind of see it on the ground there. It has that little pygmy look. It's just a fat, stocky little snake. That is amazing. Now, October is oftentimes one of the favorite times to look for hognose snakes, especially in this region of the United States. They're a really cool species, but I would not recommend holding on to one of these snakes ever. They're a super special species out here for sure, and it's best to just leave them be. If you do want a hognose, because they are super cute. This is why people love hognose snakes. They're cute, they're playful, and they've got plenty of personality. But if you do want one, just go ahead and get a western hognose, honestly. They're pretty much everywhere in the pet trade. They're pretty sustainable population in the wild and in captivity. Southern hognoses and easterns, best to just leave them be when you find them. They're a really, really awesome species. They look very similar if you just kind of look at their face to the westerns, and it's just an awesome, I mean, what more is there to say than this is just an awesome species to see out here.
An absolute score getting to see my first simus. But we still definitely want to keep our eyes peeled for more, and possibly even find an eastern hognose while we're out here. The next morning, we're back on the road cruising for snakes. Hognose snakes can be oftentimes seen making their way across these sandy, limestone roads this time of year in the morning. But many other species can be seen doing the exact same thing.
Check this little guy out, Racer. That was a coach whip from the car. Oh, he's whippy. Whippy, whippy. Ah! He's being a typical racer, chewing on my finger. Can't even break skin, he's so small. Wow, look at how high red he is. Super nice looking. You can see why people would confuse this snake for a coach whip. Very similar patterning and a very similar build. I think a baby coach whip of this size would probably be much longer, maybe even a bit thinner. Oh, he's whippy. Hi. Yeah, so these snakes actually turn a solid black coloration as they get older. And most baby racers, whatever coloration, are going to have this look when they're younger, but he is super nice. See that color? Very nice. Knew it was colubered from the car for sure, but yeah, I was kind of hoping to get my first baby coach there, but no dice on that. We're gonna go ahead and get him off the road here and keep cruising, because this is actually a pretty good time to be seeing snakes on this little sandy road. They're not too hard to spot on it either, so hopefully we don't pass any up, but really cute little guy. Look at that guy. All right, see you, little guy. Back off the road. He barely leaves any tracks. Yes, check this little guy out. Southern hognose. He is cute. What a cool snake. You can see he's kind of doing his little inch along there. They kind of have a rough time moving on this harder surface because they're really good at going on sand and little grassy terrain, and they kind of just slide over it. But on this stuff, they've kind of got to go kind of inch themselves forward. It looks like a little dance. The ground's actually very cool. The sun is beaming, but this is really cool. Look at that. Very distinct colorations on this one. Check that out. Little circles on the front of his face. Man, southern hognoses are just super special animals for sure. Very special here in the state of Florida, South Georgia, and maybe Alabama, possibly even Mississippi. It kind of gets really weird for these snakes in those areas. They don't really get seen there, but Florida is the true home of the southern hognose. Look at that little simus. Simus being the scientific name for this. But what a score. I'd have to get, honestly, for how much time we've spent out here cruising, hiking, all that stuff, I'm shocked we haven't seen more snake, seen more hognose snake than toad. which is really fascinating. Typically when I'm looking for snakes like this, I'm looking for the food source more than I am the animal. What a beautiful creature. A little bit less red on this one, but he's still fat. I love these little fat snakes. This has just been the day of fat snakes, I'll tell you. Now, one thing that's interesting about hognose snakes, obviously, is the fact that they eat toads. But what a lot of people don't know is that they have to eat a lot of them. See, toads are a lot of water. They're an amphibian, and they're mostly water. If you've ever seen a toad dry up, toads are not a very nutritious source of food, so they have to eat quite a few. In fact, these snakes could eat 1 or 2 every day or every other day just to keep themselves sustained, which is weird because snakes, you know, if they're eating mice or lizards, they'll eat and then maybe not eat for a week or 2. Some snakes can even go months without eating on a regular basis, like rattlesnakes will eat a big rabbit as a big meal and then not eat for a while. Hognose snakes, they're constantly on the move, they're constantly hunting for toads, and they have to eat a lot of them, which is really interesting. They do have favorite toads that they like to eat. I'd have to guess that these guys would be eating oak toads, eastern spadefoots, and also southern toads will also get down here. But in some parts of their range, they will occasionally eat Gulf Coast and Fowler's toads. I've found that Fowler's toads are one of the favorites of hognoses. Now, another really cool thing about these snakes is they are a rear-fanged snake. They do have little tiny fangs in the back of their throat. And what those are actually meant for is popping toads. Toads will puff up their body with air to keep from being swallowed by things like garter snakes, ribbon snakes, and hognoses are meant to combat toads. So they're like, okay, heck you. They pop them with those fangs, and then they have their meal fully deflated to where they can swallow it down nice and easily. Wow, what a special animal. As stated, not something that is the easiest to find throughout their range. They have a very spotty range, so it's just an absolutely stunning thing to see out on these very, very lightly colored roads. They really do stand out here, that is for sure. Gorgeous animal. We're gonna go ahead and let him crawl back into this little area over here. Actually came out of pasture over here, go figure. Really beautiful snake. We're gonna go ahead and put him back, but that is absolutely amazing.
The southern hognose snake is a really special species, oftentimes indicating a healthy sandhill ecosystem with many burrowing mammals, tortoises, amphibians, and other snakes. I'm so glad I finally got to make this trip and see one of these little guys. And I guess since I'm here, next up we'll have to go on an outing to see another small snake. It's actually venomous. It looks very similar to these guys.
Alright, see you, little buddy. Kind of get past here because it's a bit of a gap for him. Go that way, bud. Back to the grass. That is such a special animal.